And welcome back, students, as we get into our next lesson about Python. Up to this point, we have pretty much been making programs that are pretty static in what they can do. In other words, everything that we want the program to do, we have to program it ourselves. There's no way really to interact with the user. So we ultimately, at the end, want to make a program that can interact with the user. And so that's going to get us into today's topic, which is that of user input. So we want to be able to, in some way, shape, or form, be able to interact with somebody in order to use the program. So the easiest way to do that in Python is to use the input command. Now, input is simply, it gets input. And the nice thing is that Python in the version 3 is smart enough to pretty much tell whether it is like a string or an integer. So let's just say I want to get a name from them. So like I want to say, what is your name? Well, obviously first I'm going to want to store that in something. So I'm going to say name because that's the name of my variable. And then all I'm going to do is say input, and I'm going to just ask, what is your name? And that's it. So just name equals input, what is your name? And if I just want to verify that that was typed in correctly, I can just print back out name. And if I run this program right now, you see it asks me, what is your name? And you notice it hasn't stopped yet. The program is sitting here waiting for me to type something. Now, technically, because it's a string, I can type anything I want. So if I put, a number, it will spit back out a number, but it won't be a number. Remember, it's going to probably be a string is what we're trying to get. So let's just say we put Bob as the name. It's going to spit back out Bob because that's what I typed in. Now, if I want this to be a numeric value, for example, let's just say we have a number and we want to input, quote, what is your favorite number? Okay. Then we can just print that out just to make sure, number. And so if we run that program, it's going to ask us for a name. Okay, we'll say Bob again. And let's just say Bob's favorite number is 12. All right, so you can see how simple the input gathering process is. It's just simply getting that information in, and then it's going to process that information. If we wanted to, let's say, handle more than one thing, we can do that by simply just having more inputs. So, for example, if let's say I want to get two numbers, okay, I can of course just create another number command. So maybe right here I'm going to say number 2 equals input. And if I just leave that like that, what is your favorite numbers? Let's just say. So that's just to add another print statement so we can verify this works. So number 2. Now, if you notice that this one right here has no message in it. But if we run the program, we say, Bob, what are your favorite numbers? I got 12. You notice that the program is still sitting here. It hasn't stopped yet. So let's just say 11. You can see it spits out 12 and 11. So I'm going to change this grammar rule here. There we go. That's 11. What are your favorite numbers? Forgot to change that. But here we can now see that you don't necessarily have to have anything inside of input, which is really kind of handy because, well, sometimes you don't need a message. Like, for example, here, what are your favorite numbers? I only need to display that message once, but I need to get two numbers. So in that first one, I put the prompt, what are your favorite numbers? And then the second one, I just put input. I don't have to have that if I'm going to get multiple numbers. And then I just printed those numbers out, so 12 and 11. Right. Now, one thing you will notice that's very subtle here in idle, if you look over here in the shell, you'll see that my outputs are kind of more of a blue, whereas my inputs are more black. All right. So just a subtle difference in case you're wondering which one's which over here. Now, if I wanted to do multiple strings, obviously you can probably guess I could do the same thing. I can pass in multiple things. I can, have multiple variables available. And then once I have those values, I can do anything to these numbers that I normally would do. So for example, I could say print number plus number 2, which is just a simple adding operation. All right, and if I go ahead and run that and say Bob and say his favorite numbers again are, let's say 12 and 11. All right, notice when I did that though, because I added a space, it came 12, 11. So this is one thing you're going to have to kind of keep in mind when you're working with these, is if you add a space in here, it's not going to work right. And you also notice here 12 and 11 became 12, 11. And you might wonder, well, why is that? Why is this program, even though they're coming back as numbers, not actually creating numbers? Like, why didn't it add correctly? All right. And that is something that we're actually going to look at in our next video. We're going to actually examine how you can get those values to actually be numbers. But for now, for this video, all we're going to do is we're simply going to use this to start gathering the numbers. And then what we're going to have to do is something very similar to like when we had to do with our strings, we're going to have to do here for numbers. But I'm going to leave it right here because I think this is a good spot to stop. And we will pick right up with the same set of video notes next time.